I really feel that losing friends over religious beliefs or differences in religious beliefs is absolutely deplorable. I think it's terrible. Hi, my name's Timmy Gibson, former evangelical, fundamental, tongue talking, wild pastor. Spent 30 years, actually, 30 years of my life preaching and teaching the message of salvation through Jesus. Now, deconverted, I'd call myself an agnostic at this point. I would say I'm atheist as it relates to the Bible God. But, is there some divine supreme being out there? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. One of my favorite mugs. I love this mug. I don't know if it'll show. Not all, can you see it? Not all who wander are lost. A friend of mine gave me this. It's actually the little peace bus. You know, that's my dream. That's my dream car. If I could have any car in the world, it would be a VW van for sure. That'd be dope. I know I have that vibe already, but all right. So I want to talk about this real quick here. And by the way, happy Sunday morning if you're watching on Sunday morning. Um, as you know, Wednesday, Sundays, and then any other time that I want to, I post videos. But typically, every Wednesday and every Sunday, you can count on a video from me. That follows kind of my natural way that I spent 50 years of my life, Sundays and Wednesdays. If you understand that, you know what I mean. Um, I lost a lot of friends when I went through my deconversion, uh, deconversion process, deconverted, and then my deconstruction and reconstruction. I'm trying to think of how to say that. And that was a bummer. I've had people say, well, they apparently weren't really your friends, and I guess that's true. But these were like people that I was like really close with, and we would talk on the phone regularly. Now, granted, I left what we were talking about 90% of the time when we did talk, it kind of revolved around church things and religion and God, and the Bible, and all. So, my worldview was that, and yes, Christians have their own worldview. I know this now as a non-Christian. I my the worldview that I had then and the one I have now, yes, there's some crossover and some similarities, but a lot of my views on life and my perspective on things has really shifted uh, dramatically, actually, like very dramatic shifts in my and just what I think about things. Clearly, obviously, um, and like I said, a lot of things stayed the same. I still believe in love and kindness and being good to people and being charitable. Like a lot of those principles are those things that were grilled into me, at least in how I was taught as a Christian. Some of those things carried over, but I think that's part of being a good human. Frankly, I don't know if that's necessarily being a good Christian as much as just being a good person. So yeah, that's another topic, another video altogether, I would say. Uh, but cuss and discuss, like I always say, cuss and discuss. What's been your experience as you've gone through your deconstruction process? Have you lost friends? I talked about the family piece, and yes, for me, my family's still evangelical. They love me deeply. I love them deeply. I respect them. They respect me. Yes, of course, they're sad and would wish that I would come back to to faith. And I get that. I understand that. I totally can sympathize and empathize with that, because when I was a Christian, the thought of my kids not following me in that belief, did make me feel sad. So I totally understand what either my Christian friends or family members who still hold to the faith, how that they feel the way they feel. Like it makes sense to me. Um, a few things that I think are important to, if you value your friendships, like if you really do have some good friends and you don't want to lose them in the process. Because here's something, I don't think you have a real friendship if you can't be authentically you. Like I don't that's something that I value. It was brought up. I actually did an interview with Apostate Aladdin, and that his video will be coming out here in the next few weeks. Make sure to check out his channel and see when that comes out. But we talked about so many different things of the broken relationships of when we left our faith that we grew up in, and how those that still held on to the faith, how they struggled so with that. And there had to be these like very open and honest questions that were discussed. And I thought I really gained some insight through talking to him, because for me, there were some friends that I just said, hey, listen, I want you to know I value you as a friend. And I know that my beliefs are counter to what you believe. But I still think that, from my side, I still think that you're a great person. I know that you're sincere, and you believe what you believe earnestly and sincerely and honestly. Um, and I want you to know that when you have long hair, you always get hair in your mouth. Incredible. Um, I also am very sincere and authentic and genuine in my faith. And hence the reason why I couldn't continue to be a pastor. And I had pastor friends tell me, Timmy, just keep your personal, private thoughts to yourself. Don't feel obligated to share those things. And they meant well, but I couldn't do that. I just couldn't say one thing and actually believe something else. And that might shock you, right? As an agnostic, you think our morals are just way, we don't have morals now. I don't have to follow any. No, again, I've said this a million times, almost every video. I'm more moral now than I was as a Christian. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that, and I'll do a video maybe someday, and I'll talk about that more in depth. But a lot of it was the man-made rules of having to live up to a certain standard. Again, because I was raised so fundamental, right? No drinking, no smoking, no cussing, no looking at women, no lusting after women, don't touch yourself, like on and on and on. Like, you can't do those things. You can't. I mean, you like no movies, no. That was like I was raised so strict that clearly I was feeling discombobulated all the time, because all I could think about was women, and I wanted to try alcohol, and I wanted to smoke. I wanted to do various things because I was a normal human being, right? So clearly that was a struggle. I know many of you don't come from that strict of a background, and so it's different for you, but this isn't about you. It's my story. Okay. So, but I had to be authentic, and at least like now, many of you have said, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I try, or I try to just be authentic, because I value authenticity. I value genuineness. One of the things that I just find despicable is hypocrisy. Acting like one thing and yet being another. Again, I read most of the comments. I don't get to all the comments, unfortunately, but you guys have your own comments and discussions with each other, which I think is great. But someone says, you seem happy. I hope that you're not just coming across happy on camera, and that you're not really happy in real life. That's honest. I mean, you don't know, right? You don't know when I show up this camera what I'm like, I guess, right? But I have a wife, right? So she sees my videos. She would call me out. She's a person of authenticity and genuineness. She would not like that if I was putting on, like, acting like one thing here, and then she knows that there's something else going on. That just that wouldn't work. That would not work. Nor would my friends appreciate me if I was doing that. So, as I've said before, I'm lucky that for whatever reason, I've always just kind of been a happy-go-lucky guy. I don't know what to say except my parents have always said you were super happy. You were a super happy little kid, and that's just how I am. So a lot of what you're seeing here is just how I am most of the time. It's just how I am. I'm not trying to put on, you know, like, like this is just who I am, and so it is authentic to me. Now, for some people, if they were to act like I'm acting right now, it wouldn't be authentic. And of course, that, you know, again, I don't know you. I don't know your story. I don't know what it's like to be around you. But I just can tell you from the horse's mouth, who cares what they say in the comments necessarily, from the horse's mouth. Yes, this is just how I am. I'm trying to be as genuine and as authentic as I possibly can, and telling my story and how difficult it was in losing my friends. Many of my friends, not all of them. I have, thankfully, I actually still, and I've mentioned this again before. I still have friends who are evangelical pastors or evangelical Christians. Um, and we still get along because we have a lot of other interests. One of my friends lives out in Boston. He's a Pentecostal evangelical tongue talking preacher. And, we don't talk a lot about that. We talk about motorcycles and our wives and kids and, whatever. And so I appreciate that because, just because I'm not a Christian anymore, though that at the time was my very life. It was everything to me, literally everything to me. It wasn't just I was this person that was a Christian. No, my identity was Christian. And so clearly that was a big transition to be where I am today, where if you said, what are you now? I'd say, I'm a person. I'm a husband to my wife. I'm a dad to my kiddos. I'm an agnostic, deconstructed, former Pentecostal tongue-talking pastor to you, right? I'm a wedding officiant to those that I oversee their weddings. I'm a photographer for those that I do photography work for. I'm a relationship coach for those that I coach. I'm a ring announcer for MMA and boxing events, right? Like I'm me, and I do various things. That's right. But man, when I was a Christian, and I think that's why I lost so many friends, because they also are identified as Christian. Like their whole identity is wrapped in that belief of the Christian story, the Christian thing. So I get it that it in their minds it was like I was with God, now I'm with the devil. That's how Christians view that. Again, I'm not trying to put words in all Christians' mouths because not all Christians are the same. As much as people would love to, to the chagrin of those that are Christian, I can't tell you. I've seen, and have, matter of fact, I just saw one this morning. A Christian apologist slamming Joel Osteen and Kenneth Copeland and like all these other, like a TV preacher slamming other TV preachers. The inward fighting. No, they're not right. That's false doctrine. I'm teaching the truth of God's word. Listen to me. I know what's up. It's just, I find that so fascinating. I remember that. I remember doing that. In fact, I remember preaching against what other particular Christians would teach. And just one pops to mind. I remember, I forget which group it is, but there's a group within the Christian religion where they believe you have to be baptized, like water baptized, in order to like be saved. You can't be saved without water baptism because there's some verse somewhere. I don't know. I think maybe in the book of John. I don't know. There's like one verse that says something about that. And so this particular group denomination took that to heart and now built a doctrine around that and said, nope, you have to be water baptized. If you're not water baptized, you can't make it to heaven. Another one that I remember, it's the once saved, always saved. Some people believe that once you accept Jesus, the deal is sealed. It's done. You're good. No matter what you do, you're golden. And then others believe you can get saved and you can lose it by cussing or by doing some kind of sin, if you will, like, and then you lose your salvation, and then you got to repent of that sin and ask God back in, Jesus, please come back into my heart. I know you left when I sinned, or when I watched that movie, or when I had intimacy with this woman, or when I did this, or when I did that. I know you left. You can't be a part of that because you're Jesus, and you can't be within me if I'm, if I'm in someone else. That's what I was thinking. Oh boy. Anyway, so the friend deal was that was difficult, man. It was difficult, going through the grief of the loss, the death of friendships. And I've lost friends even when I was a Christian. I just like I guess we all do, at least through the years you have people come into your life, and then you have people leave, and sometimes it's not really like any bad thing happened. It's just a matter of like one of my friends that was a Bible college friend, and he moved off to California, and then actually moved over into Canada, and you just kind of lose track. Thank goodness for Facebook. You can kind of keep track of people and interact, which is fun. But it is hard. It's hard. I get it on one hand, because even for me, I'm a little bit more distant, even from those that I'm still friends with who are Christian. We're not as close. We're not as close because we see the world so different, and what they talk about and what I talk about, it's just different. There's that connection of that compatibility, if you will, that you once shared with someone, as a friend. When you don't really have much in common outside of the glue, really, of Christianity, it makes it difficult. But I think back to when I think about going back in my Christian brain, when I remember, Jesus said, love your neighbors and love your enemies and do good to those who curse you, and like all these scriptures about the Good Samaritan parable, all the things that I remember thinking and teaching and seeing, in scripture, was that what someone believed religiously, different, same, whatever, from me, really shouldn't impact my relationship with them. And now I know that in the evangelical, specifically Christian world, as a Christian, you would want to be friends with someone who wasn't a Christian, so that you could win them over to your belief system, right? To convert them, to witness to them, to go into all the world and preach the good news, preach the gospel. And so as a Christian, we were sent to our neighborhoods and to our neighbors and to our coworkers and to our friends to share the good news with them, so that they can see the light like we see the light. And yeah, right. And whatever, that is what it is. I think the motive of trying to be friends with someone to convert them is a little sketchy, a little disingenuous. Not. I even felt that way back when I was a Christian. That felt a little kind of like someone that invites you over for dinner, and then they all of a sudden start drawing circles, and you get two, and they get two, and then you get the 10% of the purchase of the that little pyramid scheme. that feels a little disingenuous, right? Like you go to their house thinking you're going to go over there and have dinner and have a good time. And here they bust out, here's this stranger. I'm going to have them share on how you can be financially free if you buy this and do this. Da la 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 la. Okay, that to me is kind of how it feels when you're trying to befriend someone, to share your faith with them. uh Whatever, I think just be friends with someone. If they ask, want to know more, great. If they don't, great. I know, just with my journey, I have people ask me all the time about what I think, where I'm at, what I do. Like they know, people that know me in real life, like in person, that I've worked with or I see, and they're curious, like, why am I not a pastor anymore, or they have questions. Ironically, it's a lot of those that have serious doubts themselves, and or have gone through their own deconstruction, and they can tell what's going on with me, and so they've asked questions to find out what was my story and my journey. So here's the good news. Here's the end. Here's the good news after it's all said and done. Yes, it's a bummer. You're going to lose some friends. It's just, especially if you have very conservative, fundamental, like those kinds of friends, where their whole identity and their whole vibe, everything about them is wrapped up in their religious belief. It is hard. Now, I would say my assessment is, if they're really good people, if that doesn't deter the friendship, yeah, can it cause a little bit of a whatever? Yeah, of course, right? How can it not? But I think if someone's a really good person, I really think this. I think if they're a really good person, it can still happen. You can make it work, and you can still be friends with them, and they can still be friends with you. I would even say, so if you're a Christian, listen, if you're a friend, a, a family member, I already did a video on that, but if you're a friend or a family member and you're a Christian and you are feeling sad or feeling brokenhearted that your friend is deconverting or is leaving the faith, just be a good friend. Okay, just be a good friend. That, in my opinion, doesn't or shouldn't have any bearing on Christianity or your beliefs. Here's what would surprise you. Even if you weren't a Christian, you'd probably still be a good person. Okay, I know so many people who are wonderful people, and they're not Christian anymore. So that's a farce. That's just a, I don't even know what the word is. I'm sure there's a word for it. But when Christians make that claim, and they say things like, well, they just wanted to live a life of sin, or, they just didn't want any accountability, or they just wanted to live free from any kind of rules, or that it. Come on, can we just be intellectually honest and stop saying that goofy stuff? It's just so goofy. Um, Stop saying that as a Christian. Honestly, can I just give you a little word of advice? Stop saying that, because that's just not true. Now, for some, it may be true. Okay, let me just be fully honest here. Well, of course, maybe there are some that do that for that reason. I know that's not my story, and I know many of the people that I've talked to about their deconversion story, that's not their story. But yeah, okay, fine. Maybe there are some that have left for that reason. But you just don't know. There are a myriad of reasons that people leave. Many, I find, they left for the same reason I left, which is they kind of came to the understanding that it's just not true, and it was hard to reconcile certain things in that belief system, and life just didn't make sense. And by leaving, all of a sudden things make more sense, and it seems plausible and reasonable and logical, right? Intellectually honest. So that's the. It's just like anything in life. Someone gets fired from work. What do they say? Well, they typically never say, "Well, I got fired because I didn't meet my sales goals. I'm kind of an a-hole. I didn't really carry my weight. I wasn't a good employee. I, you know, took advantage of the company. Have you ever heard anybody say that? I've never heard anybody say that. What do they say? My boss was an a-hole, and they never treated me fairly, and I was underpaid anyway, and underappreciated, and blah, 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 blah. It's always the right. They're, and you know that can't be true, right? You know that can't be true. It's like everybody that gets divorced. Usually when they talk about their ex, like he was a narcissist, she was a narcissist, and she was crazy, and it's like, really, all 7 of your exes were narcissists? Wow, that's impressive that you have such a honing device for a narcissist. That's like way beyond the averages, and still, who's a narcissist? So it's to me, it's the same thing. People get divorced for a million different reasons, and people lose jobs for a million different reasons. People leave the faith for a lot of different reasons. And so for each person, if your friend is deconverting, you're a Christian, they're deconverting from, ask them, like, what? I'm curious, and be genuine. Don't try to get into debate with them and prove them wrong, or try to prove them wrong, because I'll do a video on that later. It's like, you can't prove it. So anyway, because it's not provable, because it's not true. Anyway, so sorry. But you're a Christian, right? Yeah, be curious, rather than critical. Be curious rather than critical of your friend who's deconverting. Ask questions. Be curious. Don't be critical. Don't try to get them saved. Don't tell them. That's the worst. When I read comments like that on my channel, when people make comments like, well, you don't believe in hell, but you'll find out it's real when you die. Oh no! Okay. Like, that's just, I don't even know what that is. I don't even have words for it. I laugh, it makes me grin, but it's also like, really? What did you think that comment was going to do? That I was going to be like, oh, that's right, I've never considered that hell might be real, and I'm going to go there. Like, repent. I don't get that. I whatever. I get that you have your opinions. I have my opinions. Everybody commenting, we all have our opinions. And, whatever, share your opinion, do what you got to do to feel good about yourself. I get it. But as I always say, cuss and discuss, like, subscribe. I've got a Patreon now. I'm trying to do this thing, I'm trying to do the thing. I'm trying to do it. I didn't. Oh, by the way, I need to tell you this. Maybe I mentioned this in an earlier show. I don't think I have. Someone, thought that I started this channel to like do this. No, I didn't. This was an accident. I didn't plan on having a YouTube channel talking about my Christian upbringing and my deconstruction story. I really didn't. I that was never in my sights. Unfortunately, I don't have like a vision board of being a YouTuber at some point in life. That just wasn't on my radar. It just kind of happened. And then I got invited on some other podcasts, some much bigger podcasts, our YouTube channels. And it's just kind of evolved since then. And I'm finding a real passion here. I feel called to do what I'm doing, and I feel empowered, to continue to share my story. So that's all that is. This is all by accident. This isn't intentional. Now I am intentionally doing it now, but at the time, this kind of just came up from around the back of my head and smacked me, and I'm like, wait, okay, maybe I should do this. So again, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. And I appreciate all the comments. I appreciate the feedback. And yeah, I really do. I read most of the comments. I don't get to all of them. And if I can see that it's a negative comment, I'm just going to be honest with you. You're wasting your breath, because I'm not reading those. As soon as I can tell that you're being mean or being hateful or just, cuckoo, I'm not reading those comments, just so you know, even though I might comment on some of those, if I can see the gist of what you're trying to say, I might slap back a little bit just because it's fun. But yeah, if your comments are really, really bad, I'm not seeing them. So, there you go. All right, guys. Peace.